Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Martha Simmons with another session of Preaching and Preachers on Facebook Live and on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. Come on in and let me know that you are out there for this important broadcast. This is really important today. I always try to provide uh, clergy and laity important information that you can use. Today is really, really important. So when you come in, tag someone. They can jump on right now, or the broadcast will be up on my page, on my Facebook page for 2 weeks, and it will be on YouTube a whole lot longer. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Let me know that you are out there. All right. All right. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. All right. All right. Come on in. Shouting out my people on the West Coast who get up early and check out the broadcast. And then there are my folk in the Midwest. Don't ever want to forget about my folk in the Midwest and the people certainly on the East Coast and those in the dirty South. Come on in, and when you come in, tag someone. And if we have time, we might even get to answer some of your questions about this very important subject. Come on in. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. I see folk are coming in. Go ahead and let me know where you're coming in from. Type that in the chat. Type that in the chat. Ivy Scudder, good morning. Good morning. All right, Pastor Scudder, good to have you with me. It's a sunny day here in Atlanta, and I hope the weather is good where you are. All right, all right, all right. When you come in, type in the name. Type in the name. All right, Burlington, Ohio. All right, I see you, Ohio. All right, all right. Good to have you with me. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I want to give my guests as much time as I can. As always, I'm praying for those who are sick. We're praying for those who are experiencing a season of bereavement, and we're praying for cities. Today, I'm praying for cities that are under militarized pressure from ICE agents and this administration. We are praying for those cities, those leaders, those who live in those cities. We're praying. Next Monday, October 20th, join me for a special broadcast on funerals. Everything you want to know about doing them, paying for them, all those kinds of things. Join me for that discussion. Again, if you're on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. Last week, I talked about clergy financial healthiness and pensions with the folk from MMBB. And if you didn't catch that, you really want to go back and check out that broadcast. And so I'm continuing today to talk about the financial health of churches, whether or not the church is in or headed to foreclosure. We all know that churches are shrinking and they are closing, and many are in massive debt. Some churches overbuilt. They overbuilt. Other made financial decisions and took on risky mortgages, and others are just in dire straits, unfortunately, due to mismanagement. For every broadcast, I do some of my own research. And so I was researching this topic, and anybody else can do this too. And I just Googled African American churches in foreclosure, and I went city by city by city, and when I got to 400, I stopped because I was so heartbroken. I was so heartbroken. And I wasn't even trying to do the whole country. I was just doing churches and cities that I'm familiar with. Uh, and it was really, really startling. So it's happening, and we need to be aware of it, and uh, we really do need to talk about it. And so that's why I'm doing this broadcast, and I've got two great people to deal with the subject. First, we have Erika Cole, known as the church attorney. She is a go to resource for churches in legal matters with over 25 years of experience advising denominations and churches on their legal needs, including tax exempt status, property matters, governance, mergers. She's done all of it. She was raised in the church and has a love for the church, and she's committed to have the legal and tax insights, make sure that churches get what they need. She's given over 30,000 hours of legal services to various churches and denominations. In addition to her legal services, she founded Faithful Foundations membership, which is a community dedicated to providing church leaders with ongoing legal insight and support. She's also the host of the Church Law Podcast, which is one of the top 5% in the top 5% of podcasts globally. Then she also brings together pastors and church leaders for her church compliance conference. And she started that way back in 2008. They just finished the conference, and that is immensely helpful to churches too. So when you all see that advertisement coming up, you want to attend. Along with her, we have the one and only Dr. Deforest Soaries Jr. I've known him so long, we still call him Buster, doctor and all. Dr. Deforest Soaries is a financial and that these are my words because he's got the receipts, I've got the proof. He's a financial education guru. He's renowned for his unwavering commitment to helping individuals and organizations achieve financial freedom. He's the president and CEO of Corporate Community Connections, Inc., and he works with corporations as well to enhance their social responsibility. He has over 30 years of ministry experience, and he was the third senior pastor of First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens. He's now emeritus. And because of that time in the church, he has a deep understanding of the importance of spiritual growth, educational excellence, economic empower. In 2005, he launched the D Free Financial Freedom Movement. And that's when I first started to hear about him. And he's helped countless individuals become financially self-sufficient. There was a CNN documentary that really told people who he was and the work he was doing. He's authored 12 books. And the bestseller, of course, was Say Yes to No Debt and Say Yes When Life Says No. He earned the Bachelor's of Arts from Fordham, a Master of Divinity from Princeton, and a Doctor of Ministry degree from United. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you all with me. And I want to give you all the time. So let's just get started. Attorney Cole, define foreclosure for us as it relates to churches.
So yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me be a part of this very important discussion and being here with Dr. Soaries as well. As you know, this is a critical discussion for churches in general, but certainly within our community. When we talk about foreclosure, just setting the level of understanding for everyone, since we'll be talking about this term throughout today, foreclosure is a legal process, right? So it's a legal process through which a lender takes back a property. Generally, we're talking about real estate, the discussion today, because the borrower, or in this case, the church, has failed to make the agreed upon payments. So it's a legal process that goes through the courts where the lender takes back the property that the church was in the process of purchasing because the church has not made the agreed upon payment. So usually there's a borrow, right? The church, most of the time we're talking about, maybe let's just use the term of like $2 million, looking to borrow $2 million to purchase a property, to improve a property. And so that property serves as collateral. And if the church doesn't meet its loan obligation, then the lender has a right to take that collateral of that property back.
Okay. All right. So you got it. Everybody's out here. Everybody is clear. And like I said, we really need to face the fact that there are churches who, for whatever the reason, are close to having their property taken back by a bank in a court process. Like I said, just me scanning, and you can do the same scanning. I found 400 black churches, just black churches. That's all I was looking for, was black churches. And I didn't even try to do all over the country. This next question is for both of you. Um, Dr. Soaries, in an article, law professor Pamela Fooey, who's of Georgia, she says that black churches appeared in foreclosure more than 3 times as often as white churches. Is it your experience that black churches end up in foreclosure more often? And say something about that.
Yeah, I would trust the people that did the research in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the more often. But let me just pause to say 2 things. One, thank you for having me back. You've had
Bless
me
you.
before, and to be invited back is an honor. Thanks for what you do. And you did not need me at all. Erica Cole is is an encyclopedia of knowledge
He
all
is.
by
He
herself.
is.
So I'm almost embarrassed that I would be sitting here next to Erica Cole and Attorney Cole. I just honor you and thank God for the work that you have done. Uh, Dr. Simmons, he- I'm so glad you're focusing on this subject because um, I would be surprised to learn that black churches are in foreclosure more. I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced a few things. Number one, a lot of black churches have been financed by black banks.
Yeah.
Uh, in cities where there is a black bank, like like Memphis, like Newark, like Atlanta, in many instances, the bank was the lender of choice for black churches.
Yes.
And many of our churches borrow from black banks, assuming that because the bank is black and the church is black, that the bank will not or cannot foreclose
My
on the
God.
church. We had a situation in Boston where church members literally picketed a black bank and argued
Oh,
that the black bank was being unfair to the black church because the black bank should have known better than to expect the black church to fulfill its loan obligations. So,
whoa.
so that's a dynamic. And there's a black bank in Philadelphia that was having its own challenges. And what happens is the federal government that regulates banks will not allow banks to carry uh, excessive mortgage balances that are in default. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not even the discretion of the bank. I've seen many black churches foreclosed by black banks, and the bank has been pressured by their regulator because if they don't dispose of their these assets that have gone bad, then the bank gets in trouble. So that's one challenge. The second challenge is a lot of us sign documents that we don't understand.
Yeah.
So, as Attorney Cole said, foreclosure is a process, it's not an event. And
Mm.
in many instances, I was in one city meeting with a bank, and they had about 40 churches in foreclosure.
Jesus.
Most of those churches were making their payments
Yeah.
every month. The problem is they didn't maintain the proper balances. When you sign a mortgage agreement, a commercial mortgage, you are not only responsible for making payments, but having a certain amount of money in your account.
Yes.
And they call them ratios. And if your ratio is out of kilt, you could be making payments every month, but you're still in default of the agreement that you signed. And attorney codes can explain more about that. So a lot of churches, they'll call me and say, we're making payments every month and now the bank is foreclosing. And I know almost immediately that the
Yeah.
problem is they're in default of the foreclosure. Or here's another reason. Commercial loans require an appraisal of the property on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And often the bank and or the church will not keep their appraisals up to date, which puts them in default of the agreement. Now, having said that, it's not the value of the property that is the primary criteria for the loan. You know, I've been on the board of a couple of banks, and banks don't lend based on the value of the property. They lend based on the ability to repay.
That's right.
However, the value of the property functions as collateral in the event that there is a foreclosure. The bank can recoup the value of the loan, even though the value of the property was not the primary reason for giving the loan.
Yeah. Mm.
So
Okay.
good. Can I just chime in on that? I
Yes.
so appreciate you, Dr. Soaries. Dr. Soaries. So I want to just agree with everything that you've said, and I want to highlight and maybe take a quarter step back a little bit, chiming into what you said. It is a significant event for a church to undertake a loan. And to your point, these loan documents can be hundreds of pages.
That's
And
right.
I didn't misstep when I said hundreds of pages.
Yep.
When I'm engaged in the process, read every word on
Sure.
every page with a highlighter that I'm circling things, making comments, and negotiating loan documents. Too many churches think, here's the paper, sign the paper. No, our counterparts have people on their team who are negotiating loan documents. We don't even know that that's a thing to do.
Right.
And often we are in the position where we don't have the people in the room that we need to help us in these significant choices. So oftentimes we're talking about $500,000, $750,000, $1 million, $2 million, and we don't have legal counsel helping us.
Stunning.
Other parts think that that's ridiculous. The banks, in their own secret way, know that it's ridiculous, but they're also willing to give you the money if it makes sense. If it's making, if it's making money and it makes sense, then it's your loss, right? Because it's your choice to bring counsel to the table. So a lot of times churches are agreeing to terms that, frankly, it's dead on arrival. The terms are going to kill you before you even really get started. Meanwhile, we're having a celebration service that we are marching in and enjoying this property. And those of us who are professionals on the back end are looking at like, God help. So one of the terms that I just want to point out that I just want everybody to know that often banks will require a personal guarantee based on the numbers. And I have seen things fall apart in the worst possible way, whether a pastor has personally guaranteed $1 million loan, right? So putting up their personal assets to protect the loan. This happens all the time. And when I'm negotiating, I negotiate those terms out. But if you don't even really know what it means or how it can impact you, a lot of times churches just sign these things. And then these defaults, as Dr. Soaries said, the defaults are not just payments. There could be like 30 different terms that you have to meet. There'd be things like you have to annually provide an audit. Right. All these other terms that are baked into the process. If you don't know better, you can't do better. And I just want to encourage us to get access to the people who can help on the front end before you sign the documents.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is absolutely critical because when I went to the bank, my church borrowed $19 million from from a bank that was purchased by Bank of America. They wanted me to sign a personal guarantee. I refused to do that.
Absolutely.
But what Attorney Cole is describing is their standard agreement has these things in them to protect the bank.
That's right.
And if you don't have a representative, you'll sign what you think is just a loan agreement when in fact it's much more than a loan agreement.
Mm,
My bank, listen to this, Attorney Cole. My bank in their proposed agreement wanted my church to agree that if anything happened to me, if I were to leave the church, if I were to die, that the bank had the right to choose my successor.
Woo,
whoa,
talk about
whoa.
overstepping.
The bank wanted the right to choose my successor.
Mm,
And obviously that wasn't in it. But to her point, Dr. Simmons, if we don't read, sometimes we treat loans as though they're grants, and we're so happy to get it.
my God.
We behave as if the bank's done us a favor, when
Yep.
in fact the bank is making money. And
Right.
so it is negotiable. Yeah, it is negotiable.
Everything is negotiable. And
Everything.
please know that banks are in the business of making money.
Right.
They're making money, and there is no way that you should be signing a document that's 100 pages long and you haven't, reviewed anything with someone who does this work for a living.
That's right.
I mean,
Because
this
the other
it's
thing is
outrageous.
not every lawyer is qualified.
Exactly.
So we have lawyers in our
Exactly.
church that do, divorces and other things. You need an attorney Cole who does
Mm,
this, who specializes in this. You wouldn't go to a dentist if your foot hurt. You wouldn't go to an optometrist if you had heart trouble. People specialize
that's
in
right.
commercial borrowing, and attorney Cole specializes in church borrowing, and we need to take that very seriously because it's gotten more and more complicated.
It's gotten
Regulations.
well, it's gotten more complicated, and there's so many risks. Like I think I said to Attorney Cole just before we started, there are 7 churches right now in Metro Atlanta, Black churches that are in foreclosure proceedings because of issues with the bond company,
Right.
and they're saying that they were duped by this bond company,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, they like, when 7 churches say someone duped them, we know that there was some duping going on. But again, you have to ask who was at the table on your behalf.
Yeah. Now,
Pastors,
besides legal representation, you also need some business acumen,
absolutely.
because there are ways to do cash flow forecasting. There are ways to do. You have to do what if scenarios. You have to know that finances operate in cycles, and just because you're doing well this year doesn't mean that you're going to sustain that over the next 5 years. You've got to do an
Right.
analysis of your members. I pastored in the North, in New Jersey, where taxes are high and salaries are low. And the reality of my congregation was that every single month we had dozens of people moving to the South. They,
Yeah.
they didn't leave God, they didn't leave the church, they left New Jersey.
Yeah.
But with that, some of my biggest givers were the ones moving south. So I
Yeah.
had to factor all of that into my projections to ensure that my cash flow not only was good today, but could realistically be expected to sustain over the next few years.
And
And can I just
I
comment
want to
on that?
say this. Let me say this loudly to pastors listening, to people I know who are going to share this. Please, ma'am, please, sir, do not sign documents without people at your table with the business acumen and who specialize in this. Just because you have attorneys in your church does not mean that they specialize in this. Just because you have business people in your
Right.
church does not mean that they have the level of acumen. I mean, we know some big names of churches who got into trouble with just, I mean, poor business practices, and it's embarrassing. But most importantly, it harms churches. It really harms churches, and we just got to stop it because it's not necessary. It's really not necessary. Attorney Cole, you wanted to add something? Go ahead.
Just very briefly, I just want to encourage churches to also get insight in church trends. I think sometimes we are making decisions that are very incongruent with cultural trends. For example, if you're a church looking to buy a congregation, looking to buy that could be beautiful, and I love it. It's also just outside of current trends, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's also outside of current trends to have a huge sanctuary and a smaller space for other kinds of activities, right? The trend is that you have a smaller sanctuary and you have larger space for other kinds of gatherings, right?
That's
so
right.
You got to be aware of church trends so that you are not purchasing again a dud on the front end, something that can seem exciting, but when you get into operations and how people are nowadays, it really may not be the best fit. Last thing I want to say along those lines is, much like the amazing person Dr. Soaries does, you want to buy as a congregation below your means, right?
Yeah.
So say you get qualified $50 million, you may just want to spend $3 million, right? You may want to have that money available, ideally, for your tax exempt purpose, right? You want to use a substantial amount of money for your outreach, for supporting your staff, for building your infrastructure, the message out. So I just want to encourage churches, just like individuals, just because you qualify for an amount doesn't mean that you have to spend all that amount.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amen.
And like you said, be aware of trends. I've been saying on this broadcast for 6 years that churches were shrinking. I said it until I was blue in the face. And people were like, yeah, my church is growing. Yeah, and it's like, no, God gonna provide. God is providing, but there are trends in anything. And this is not a time when churches are growing everywhere. Most churches are not growing. And no, you are not Wheeler Avenue. And so don't look at Wheeler Avenue or Howard John Wesley's church. They are in the 2%. Everybody else is in the 98. Everybody else is in the 98. And some of our strongest churches, churches that had thousands forever, no longer have them. And if you don't believe me, just go online to a service and let them pan the church, and you will see the shocking difference. So it makes no sense for you to not be aware of what you're building or what you're buying. You need something more than a building where people can sit down and engage in worship. It's not really making any sense. Let me go further. What happens? I think we started to talk about this, but what happens, Dr. Soaries, when churches get costly terms? Those I think they're LIBOR payments. And they skyrocket. They started out at $5,000 a month, and they skyrocket to $20,000 a month, or those big balloon payments that come up. Talk to us a bit about that kind of stuff, or those weird mortgages that banks will give out. Those weird mortgages. I mean, we saw this with the housing crisis.
Exactly.
Really weird. I've seen some weird mortgages, church mortgages, that are the equivalent of some of those awful subprime loans. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, Attorney Cole talked about how analogous the church finance reality is to the personal finance reality. And to your point, Dr. Simmons, back in 2007, 2008, we had a global meltdown based on mortgages.
That's right.
that were unmanageable for the borrowers, but they were good investments for the investors. And so in the case of churches, we have churches that are signing interest-only mortgages for 3 years, and then there's a balloon payment at the end. Or we have churches that don't realize that if they're 1 minute late on their 5-day grace period, the interest rate jumps up, just like on a credit card. Because we don't read those 100 pages. We don't even read 2 pages. We just look at the signature page and sign. And then even on a good loan, Dr. Simmons, even on a good interest rate loan, good terms loan, these are commercial loans which have a term of 30 years, but they renew in 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you can have a great loan, and
Yeah.
it's a quote unquote 30-year mortgage, but every 5 years
Yeah.
it comes up. And in
Yeah.
5 years, the bank could have changed leadership.
That's
In five
correct.
years, the lender could have lost his appetite or her appetite for that kind of risk. Anything can happen in 5 years. And in 5 years, you can become desperate because you did not realize that in 5 years you needed a new loan.
Yeah.
And that lack of preparation can put you in a situation where you're desperate and just have to sign anything
Yeah.
because because you weren't ready. You didn't have legal counsel. You didn't have business acumen, and so it's a very complicated reality. Borrowing money is not for the faint of heart or for the unprepared, and that's why this session is important. That's why Attorney Cole's work is important. I need to send people to your events, Attorney Cole. I've only done 1 or 2 events on this subject, but I'd love to know how I can help you in whatever way I can.
Yeah.
It's so important, and it's millions of dollars. And listen, the black churches collectively
Yeah.
own more real estate, have more assets,
Yeah.
employ more people than any other sector of Black America.
Right.
Therefore, if we are fragile
Hmm.
in the church community, Black America is fragile.
Amen.
And that's why I said when I got to 400 churches that were in foreclosure, I got so upset that I had to stop because I realized what a precarious place we're in. And then when I consider what administration we are under, I said, oh my God. And the other thing that came clear to me, especially when I was looking at the list, I said, I'm clear and I know some of the members at these churches don't know
Oh
that
no!
their churches are even foreclosed.
Oh
No.
no!
They
No!
don't even know.
And
No!
The members don't know. Go ahead, Attorney Cole.
and let me just say this. So again, I love Dr. Soaries' point around these balloon mortgages. A lot of
Yes.
times persons don't understand the difference between an amortization schedule and when a term ends, right? So in this current environment, as we talk about trends, there was a time that maybe if you had an 8-year balloon, let's say, at year 7.5, I would say, let's start working on something. That day is gone. You need to start working on something in year like 6,
Right.
Yeah.
because it could take that long to
Right.
place that loan properly. But again, if you don't know this going into it and you wait until 6 months out,
Right.
as Dr. Soares said, you can find yourself in a desperate situation. And so as we talk about really making sure that we not only consider the fact that we can go into foreclosure, I want and I hope that a part of what we want to talk about is how maybe we can not only prevent ourselves here, but if you find yourself there, what do you do? Because as you
Okay.
said, Dr. Simmons,
Let's talk about it. Let's go
secret-
right to that question, Attorney Cole. How can churches, I mean, you all listed some things, but really, how can churches avoid foreclosure?
Well, I believe that we were saying how foreclosure is a process, right? And
Mhm.
so there are many, many steps in the foreclosure process. I do want to highlight that this is a commercial space,
Mhm.
different from a residential space.
Yeah.
In residential spaces, there are inherent protections, right? The state, the government will bake in some inherent protections on the residential side. That doesn't exist on the commercial side. The
Mhm.
presumption is that we are business-minded folks. There are 2 businesses come together. So the government says, we're out. You negotiate the terms yourself, right?
Yeah.
So by and large, these are terms that is expected that if they're there, the court's going to enforce. So I
Right.
feel like that's the first thing you need to know. It's very difficult to work on this on the back end. Having said that, the key would be to try to get a loan modification.
Mhm.
That's the term that you want to consider.
That's right.
And ideally, you want to have someone walking you through that process. A lot of times, I think the harm comes to us as you said in my bio, I am a person of faith. I always share the fact that my mom was my Sunday school teacher. My dad was the head trustee of our church. I was raised in the church. My husband is an elder. We love God. We're at church, right? This is my heart. And there is a business side of church, right? I wouldn't call the church a business, but there is a business side of church, and we have to be aware of that. So I would want churches to ideally already have a team that you're working with, right? I would love for you to already have an accountant that's helping you with your books. I would love for you to already have an attorney who has insight specifically to church operations, because sometimes churches lose a lot of time just trying to find the help.
Right.
Absolutely. The last time you want to try to learn how to swim is when you're in the water. That's not when you want to try to learn how to swim.
Long time.
And that's what we're doing. So ideally, you want to be getting started on this early, and you want to have someone with you who can help really alleviate, I will say, what clients have said to me. I've never had a church go into foreclosure that I have assisted when they've come to me with what I'm laying out to you. So I can say that is a reality, that if you have the right help, often you can navigate past this. Now, let me say what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that sometimes it doesn't mean that you need to let go.
Right.
This may be a harsh reality that you have come into a process that is just not ideal for where you are right now. You may have signed the note 10 years ago when your church was booming. And as has been said, the trends sometimes can just be against you. And it may just mean that you have to sell this property as opposed to go through the foreclosure process. So sometimes I have helped churches just walk through a soft landing.
That's right. That's right. Listen, Dr. Simmons, I have a friend, dear friend, whose church's revenue has dropped 50% in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But they were spending as if it was 5 years ago. So to Attorney Cole's point, you have to modify your behavior based on your reality.
Yes.
And sometimes it means selling, sometimes it means modification, sometimes it means take the keys back to the bank and do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. It does not make sense. Life is too short to allow this kind of financial stress to kill you and your congregation. Now, I will also say that the word that Attorney Cole is really using here, without saying it, is to be proactive. Don't sit back and wait for the bank. You know if your numbers are shrinking. You know if your offerings are shrinking. You know if you're missing payments. You know if you're making payments late. Go to the bank. It's just like homeowners. We have, listen, in this administration, we have a disproportionate number of Black people losing their jobs. If I get laid off today, I need to call my bank tomorrow.
That's correct.
You know what? I just lost my job, and I think I'm good for the next 3 or 4 months, but I need to know who should I be talking to, because I may need a forbearance. I may need a modification. You know, be proactive. Go to the bank before the bank comes to you. That's the point. And have an attorney like Attorney Cole who will speak for you, because listen, a lot of times if you ask for a modification yourself, they'll offer you something that is not any more realistic than what you're in. So you need someone to advocate for you. You propose the modification that makes sense for you, because a lot of these institutions are offering modifications that are just unrealistic. So if you're behind 2 months, and your mortgage is $1,000 a month, then a modification for $1,500 a month is not going to help you. You couldn't make the $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So it's all of this, and I have a real passion for this. Obviously, my church, thank God, was quite successful and effective. I had strong trustees. I had good legal counsel, and I have banking experience myself. So we were able to listen. By the time Attorney Cole, by the time I got done with my bank, not only did they give me the mortgage on my terms, They donated 2 buildings to us so that we could build some housing. They gave
Lord have mercy.
us.
See,
So,
but that's why you're the kind of person that I wanted to have here, because we have so many pastors who are brilliant preachers. They can exegete text well, and they have no business acumen.
and they
No,
don't need to. They don't, because there are people who have it.
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
But we both know, all three of us know, of those pastors who believe
I know.
that they can do the loan documents, that they can be attorneys, that they, if I'm a smart over in the seminary, I must have some business sense. I mean, and it's absurd.
It
It
is
is
absurd.
absurd. It really is. And like I said, I know it's embarrassing for people to have to say, this is the predicament I'm in. But if you're in the predicament, get help. I
yes,
Right.
wish you could have been proactive. I wish, that you had checked out Attorney Cole sooner, but you've got to get help. Do
yeah,
not just sit there
yeah.
Yeah.
the last minute thinking, God, this is something miraculous is going to happen. Yeah, it is. You're going to miraculously lose that building that you had.
But let me
That,
say, the reason she's so successful is, besides her brilliance and her genius and her wonderful smile. Uh, Listen, at the end of the day, banks don't want to foreclose on churches.
that's right.
They would
That's right.
rather not foreclose. It's not in their interest to
That's
foreclose.
right.
Banks
That's
don't know what to do with church buildings,
that's right.
and they get realtors and other people. It's not good on their books. It's an
Mhm.
non-performing loan. Um, so if someone like Attorney Cole shows up with even a half-baked strategy, chances are the bank they know she knows what she's talking about. So the
Mhm.
bank's going to deal with the church, knowing that the church has someone like her who can translate their need, the bank's need, with the church's reality.
Yeah.
Banks, I was on the board of a bank, and they came to me and said, Reverend, these people haven't paid their mortgage. Can you please talk to them? They were willing to do almost anything
Mhm.
because banks don't want to foreclose on churches.
Right.
And I know how we are. We believe that all white people want to steal everything from all black people,
Mhm.
and I'm not taking a position on that. From a financial perspective, banks don't want churches. They're hard to
Right.
dispose of.
Mhm.
It's a public relations problem. If
That's
they're
right.
a community bank, they don't want churches.
Yeah. They don't want churches to foreclose, but we make it so easy. I'm sorry. We are making it too easy because we won't do the basics. We
Yeah,
just don't do the basic, which is getting your stuff together
yeah.
at first. And the pastor, if this is not your expertise, if you're not an attorney, if you haven't handled multiple law, this is not for you. This
No.
is not for you. You
And
cannot do everything, and there's no need. There's just no need to.
Dr. Simmons, don't take lightly what Attorney Cole said about this being commercial.
Hmm.
There are tons of laws protecting homeowners. There are
Yeah,
homeowners' rights.
right.
In this space, it's wide open.
That's right.
Whatever the borrower and the lender agree to,
Free
that's
on.
the law. They
That's
can
it.
charge you 25%. There's no such thing as unfair
Yeah,
in the commercial space. In the consumer space, you can actually file a complaint, and accuse the lender of predatory lending. There's no such thing as predatory lending in the commercial space.
that's right. That's
It's
right.
what
And
the
like I
market,
said, yeah,
right?
yeah. And you will hear churches complain later after the fact. That was predatory lending.
I
No,
got a
sir.
church. I got a
No,
church in
no, sir.
Connecticut
No.
just like that. A church in Connecticut borrowed money from a Christian denomination
Hmm.
and took them to court for being guilty of predatory lending. And the court gave the defendant, the church. Not only did they lose the case, they lost the church. It's wide
Wow.
open, and that's very important. That was a very important point Attorney Cole made. There is no protection outside of what you signed and agreed to.
And
And I,
and go right ahead, Attorney Cole.
as we're talking about solutions, I also just want to add to what we're saying about being an advocate on the front end. One of the guides that I wrote recently was the Church Attorney's Guide to Mergers. Now, again, we know in the commercial space, mergers is one of those things that happens frequently.
Right.
But churches too often will have 10 people in this building, and then you go walking distance and there's another 10 people, and you go walking distance the other way and there's 10 more people, right? In any other industry, people would really see that as a business opportunity to come together and maximize resources and limit expenses. I really want to encourage churches to think in a similar way. And to be able to really say, well, this may be what I'm observing, right, in the decline in attendance, the decline in revenue that goes hand in hand, right, over years. Sometimes it's just, would this be a great opportunity to bring together some other churches? Another way of looking at it, not every church is in decline, as we've mentioned. You may, as a church, say, well, we want to expand. We want to go into another jurisdiction. I'm in the DMV, right? So it's just very easy for churches to consider, well, maybe we not only want to have something in DC, maybe we want to be in Maryland, we want to be in Virginia, or maybe we want to go down to North Carolina, or we want to be in Atlanta, wherever, right? If you want to expand to have another campus, this could be a great way to do that. So I just want to also encourage looking into some of the solutions that exist in that many other organizations. I work with denominations a lot. I've been able to kind of broker some deals where denominations likewise are shedding people. They're shedding churches. They have more church buildings sometimes than they need. I've been able to broker needs where maybe there isn't a kind of entity that's growing and they might need the space. So see where you can really collaborate. And I would say, like, to not let shame, and I know that that's kind of going into another area, but I really want to encourage you to not let shame hold you back. Because
I failed.
Yes.
I failed as a pastor, and etc. Instead of saying this is important work, let the churches be combined. Okay, I won't be the senior pastor anymore. That is the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do. That's better than having someone foreclose upon your church.
Right. Listen, are you going to put up Attorney Cole's information? We need your email address, your website, your cell phone number. We need all of that.
We've got the stuff posted about
everything from
mergers. And you know, like I said, it's unnecessary. I'm sorry. I am sorry. We are not giving you a pass in 2025 if they're foreclosing on your church. We're not giving you a pass. You messed up. There's no reason for that. This is not the 1930s and 40s when you couldn't find people. The pastor did the best they could. No, this is ridiculous. And we all know, and I've done a ton of broadcasts on this, churches are shrinking. And I gave the stats earlier this year. 5,000 churches are closed in 2024. They closed.
Right.
Okay. They didn't merge. They weren't foreclosed upon. They're gone. Okay. And I have no reason to believe, I don't have any stats. If you got some, send them to me, that 2025 is going to be any different.
Right.
There's just no reason. This is where we are. We didn't believe it 30 years ago when they told us in Europe that thousands of churches could close. We didn't believe that. We just said, oh, that's happening over there. And the Black church, some way, somehow, maybe you believe it now. Maybe you believe it now. Okay. So we've just got to do better and pay attention and go to the experts who do this. I'm just about out of time, but Dr. Soaries, are there conferences or books or articles that you would recommend that pastors read?
Yes, the Church Attorney, Erika Cole, whatever.com she's at. We don't have enough. No. And you know why? You know why I don't do it? Because people won't come.
That's right.
Now, for me, now they'll call me like Nicodemus. They'll sneak after hours,
Oh God.
but they're not coming.
That's right.
Yeah, but they'll
Yeah.
come for Attorney Cole.
Well,
Right.
we hope, we wish that they would come. I mean, we will go to the conferences just to hear the same people preach and sing.
Right,
Okay. And we will not go to the conferences that are going to help our churches.
right.
We're going to Attorney Cole, give me some books, some articles, give me some recommendations, and of course include your work.
Sure. So thank you again for the opportunity just to share with your viewers. And thank you so much, Dr. Soaries. So erikacole.com is where you find all things that I share. So ERIKACOLE.com. One of the books that I recommended was the Church Attorney's Guide to Mergers. So I've got several guides. I really encourage you to take a look at that. Even if you hadn't thought about mergers, if there is the inclination that you could use support, I always say, listen, I understand that shame sometimes can be there, but wave the white flag, right? If you
That's
need
right.
help, wave the white flag. Don't go down without at least seeking help, right? So there are resources there. Also, we just completed the Church Law and Leadership Summit. It is an incredible event. You can grab the replay. So again, that's available, and I think some people from my team may be watching. So I implore you to
Yes,
take
they're
a look at
getting the
those things
stuff
as
up. Yes,
well.
I'm seeing.
I also want to recommend this book that I grabbed. This is called Know Your Price. It's a book.
Okay.
It's called Valuing Black Lives and Property in America's Black Cities. It's by Andre Perry, who I just think it's a really good read, and it really gives some data around this issue about how it's a copyright of 2020. So it's pretty new, but relatively new, but it talks about what an asset is and the different kinds of issues that we have really when it comes to property in our community. So I really implore you to consider.
Say that author's name one more time.
Andre M. Perry, Perry.
Okay.
So, Erika, do Black people come to your conferences, or do you get mostly white people?
So it's open to everyone. And I think that sometimes seeing the fact that I am an African-American attorney who has, deep ties to the Black church, they certainly know that it's a welcome space. A part of what I created too was just creating a space where people can come together and share resources, because too often I think we're closed. We're kind of closed to whether you're in a certain denomination, or we're closed as to whether you're geographically someplace or the other. But really the Faithful Foundation's membership is where people come together and they share resources and information. And I think that's really critical, because sometimes while we want everybody to recognize the seriousness around these issues, you don't know what you don't know is the truth.
Right.
And we really are, I'm in the business of sharing information so that people can know.
And
you're also a good lawyer, because you never answered my question. But
oh yes, she did. Oh yes, she did answer your question.
Yeah.
I'm one too. So yes, she did answer your question, sir. Okay. Let's be real clear. Right. I just want to say in closing that we're all here because we love the church and we care about the church. And we want the church to we want churches to thrive. Churches are so important to our people. And I also want to say, she does her own conference, but I want to say we've done about 100 conferences this year that we've had. I want to say to conferences, please stop holding conferences that don't help people. As much as I love preaching, we don't need another conference full of preachers.
No, we don't.
That is not the main thing that we need.
Right.
So as you're doing your conference planning, please get to the serious, the important stuff. Yeah. We just need it. Dr. Soaries and Attorney Cole, I can't thank you all enough for the work that you have done. Dr. Soaries, I mean, you've been out here helping people financially so long. Oh my God. We thank God for you
Thank
and
you.
for pastors who are looking just to figure out how can I help my people understand money better and living better, etc. This is the man. You want the guru at your conference. You want the guru at not some jackleg coming in to tell you, I'm serious. They are
Oh,
jacklegs.
Jack Leg.
Here are 5 ways where you are going to grow your church. You are not. You
Oh,
are not. We're just trying to keep it from being closed. Okay, we need to stop this. I'm telling you.
she
So
called them jack legs,
they,
Erica.
oh, look,
She called
let
them.
me move on from that. If you are on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you all for hitting my Cash App as an independent scholar. Again, join me next week for the broadcast on funerals. You are going to really appreciate that information. There's so much new information that we have not shared on funerals. And as I always say at the end of every broadcast, share this video. It won't cost you anything. And I'm telling you, you're going to really help some older pastor and some younger pastor. You're going to save them and set some folk free. God bless everyone. Everyone have a great week.
Take care.
All right.
Look forward to connecting with you, Dr. Soaries. I'll have Dr. Simmons connect us.
I'll be following you for
God
sure.
bless. All right. Bye-bye.